We found many significant artifacts and items that belong to the state of Israel.
Okay, Owen.
The Euphrates River is revealing discoveries that captured attention around the world. After centuries beneath the river, a hidden cave emerged alongside a series of discoveries that have puzzled archaeologists. From mysterious sealed structures beneath the exposed earth to ancient treasures that seem to be guarded by an unknown creature, the discoveries bear an unsettling resemblance to warnings connected to the fallen angels described in Book of Enoch. Could this be a sign of the rise of fallen angels as seen in recent videos? Stay with us until the end. And if you feel something in your spirit, leave a short prayer for protection and discernment in the comments below. In the early hours of the morning, without any warning, a powerful magnitude 6.8 deep-focus earthquake struck along the Iraq-Turkey border, a region that, according to seismologists, was never expected to produce a rupture of that scale. No active fault system in the area is known to generate such force at that depth, and yet the earth opened with remarkable precision. The seismic event did not resemble a conventional tectonic shift. The movement was abrupt, almost vertical, as though something deep underground had forced its way upward rather than the crust, sliding naturally along geological boundaries. Geologists describe the formation as something that should not exist in natural geology. It looked less like a crack and more like an opening, and its location made the discovery impossible to dismiss. The line stretched directly beneath the Euphrates basin, a landscape layered with ancient kingdoms, forgotten ruins, and traditions reaching back to the earliest pages of Scripture. As satellites continued surveying the rupture, they detected geometric heat anomalies far below the surface, clusters of rectangular structures, evenly arranged and emitting identical levels of warmth. Nature does not normally organize itself in such a manner underground. Military analysts quickly ruled out pipelines, bunkers, and modern infrastructure. Whatever was generating those patterns was not contemporary. It appeared to belong to something far older than anything currently documented. Soon, passages from Revelation began spreading across social media, particularly verses describing forces hidden beneath the earth and entities reserved for an appointed time. While major news outlets avoided drawing biblical connections, many observers found the timing difficult to ignore. And now, beneath the Euphrates, the earth itself had split apart along a perfectly straight line that seemed unsettlingly intentional. Tensions rose almost immediately as regional powers responded. Iraq demanded authority over the rupture zone. Turkey argued that part of the formation extended into its territory. Meanwhile, Syria launched reconnaissance drones while Kurdish forces began mobilizing nearby. Yet, the earthquake was not supposed to be the only matter. Several days later, local shepherds noticed something unusual along a stretch of the river that had been dry for years. Water, not a puddle left behind by rain, not groundwater seeping through the soil. A narrow stream of turquoise water was flowing directly from a crack that had opened in the exposed riverbed. At first, the discovery attracted little attention. Drought had transformed large portions of the Euphrates into a landscape of cracked mud and exposed stone. Strange geological changes had become increasingly common. Yet this spring seemed different. The water was remarkably clear. Its color stood out against the surrounding earth, and most importantly, it was coming from far below. The spring was not emerging from a natural underground reservoir. It appeared to be flowing through a man-made passage. That single discovery changed everything. Archaeologists soon began following the course of the water. The further they traced it, the more evidence they found that the crack opened by the earthquake had exposed something ancient. Behind the turquoise spring, buried beneath centuries of sediment, they uncovered a hidden passage leading deep beneath the Euphrates basin. What waited at the end stunned everyone. Not a few artifacts, not a buried treasure chest. Gold everywhere. Stacks of gold coins filled recessed chambers. Golden vessels were piled against the walls. Statues cast entirely from precious metal stood beneath layers of dust untouched for centuries. In some areas, bars of gold had been stacked so densely that workers initially mistook them for sections of collapsed masonry. The deeper the team explored, the more gold appeared. Every new chamber seemed to contain more. Within days, estimates suggested the amount of precious metal hidden beneath the Euphrates could be among the largest archaeological discoveries ever recorded. News of the find spread rapidly, and almost immediately, many people began drawing connections to an ancient Islamic prophecy. A well-known hadith states that the Euphrates will one day uncover a mountain of gold, causing people to fight over it. Scholars cautioned against making direct comparisons. Archaeologists emphasized that no conclusions should be drawn before the site had been fully studied. Yet the similarities were difficult to ignore. A drying Euphrates, a hidden underground complex, and an extraordinary quantity of gold emerging from beneath the river. At the same time, some Christian observers pointed to another biblical theme associated with the last days. Throughout Scripture, treasures hidden beneath the earth often appear alongside warnings, judgments, or events that reveal what had long remained concealed. Luke chapter 8 verse 17 states, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad." For many, the discovery raised a troubling question. Why would such an immense fortune remain untouched for so long? Because one detail puzzled investigators more than the gold itself. There were no signs of looting, no evidence that ancient thieves had ever entered, no broken walls, no abandoned tools, nothing. It was as if generation after generation had known this treasure existed and deliberately stayed away. Why is this still here? The question had not yet been answered. If the exposed structure along the riverbank did not match any known archaeological sites, then what else remained hidden beneath the Euphrates? As researchers continued their investigation deeper into the newly revealed treasure field, another discovery began to take shape, one that complicated everything further. In a complex overflowing with gold, there was only one place in a chamber no treasure surrounded it. No statues spiced it. No inscriptions celebrated a king or ruler. There was only the sarcophagus. And the longer archaeologists studied it, the stranger it became. The structure measured nearly 4 meters in length and was carved from a single block of dark stone, unlike anything found elsewhere in the underground complex. But what truly captured everyone's attention was the front of the lid. At first, researchers assumed it had some form of decorative ornament. Then the dust was cleared away. A face emerged, human, life-size. Its eyes were closed. Its mouth was sealed and positioned exactly where a locking mechanism would normally be found. The entire face appeared to function as the lock. No hinges were visible, no handles, no obvious way to open the sarcophagus, only the stone face staring silently from the center of the seal. Photos of the discovery spread quickly across the internet. Within days, theories began appearing from every direction. Some believed it represented a king. Others suggested a priest. But several archaeologists proposed a different possibility. What if this was never intended as a burial container? Because nearly every known ancient tomb was designed to allow access at some point. Royal tombs contained entrances. Burial chambers contained passages. Even heavily protected graves were ultimately built around preserving the dead. This structure felt different. Everything about it seemed focused on containment, not honoring what was inside, keeping it inside. That observation sparked comparisons with ancient traditions describing powerful beings bound beneath the earth. Discussions soon spread across religious communities, particularly because of the location. The Euphrates had already become the focus of worldwide attention after the discovery of the underground gold. But now the conversation began shifting in a far more unsettling direction. For centuries, the Euphrates has occupied a unique place in biblical prophecy. The book of Revelation describes 4 angels being bound near the great river. Euphrates restrained until an appointed time. While mainstream archaeologists rejected any direct connection between the discovery and the biblical passage, the similarities were enough to ignite intense debate. For some observers, the timing felt unsettling. Yet the greatest mystery emerged when the team examined the chamber floor. Scratches, deep scratches. They surrounded the sarcophagus on all sides. At first glance, they looked like marks left by moving heavy stone. But closer inspection suggested otherwise. The grooves were irregular, repeated, as if something had clawed at the floor over and over again. And many of them led toward a narrow passage hidden behind the chamber, a passage nobody had noticed before. When lights were directed into the darkness, the corridor appeared to continue much deeper beneath the complex. The excavation team expected to find another sealed room. Instead, they found evidence that something very large had passed through there, something that left behind scales. The scales changed everything. Until that moment, archaeologists could still explain most of what they had found. The gold could belong to a forgotten kingdom. The sarcophagus could be an unusual burial artifact. Even the mysterious face lock might eventually find a historical explanation. But scales were different. The passage behind the sarcophagus was narrow, dark, and partially collapsed. As the team moved deeper inside, they began finding more of them lodged between cracks in the stone. Some were nearly the size of a human hand, others were larger. Several remained remarkably well preserved, despite the apparent age of the complex. Biologists were brought in to examine the discovery. Their initial conclusion only deepened the mystery. The scales belonged to a serpent, but no known species matched their size. As the investigation continued, additional evidence appeared throughout the tunnel. The stone floor contained long drag marks. In several places, the walls showed deep abrasions, as though something massive had repeatedly brushed against them while moving through the corridor. Then came the moment that would dominate headlines around the world. The tunnel opened into another chamber. At first, the object at the center looked like a statue. A gigantic serpent coiled around itself, motionless. Its body stretched across much of the room. Dust covered portions of its scales. For several seconds, members of the expedition assumed they were looking at an ancient sculpture placed there by whoever built the underground complex. Then the thermal cameras arrived. The images revealed faint heat signatures moving through the body. The serpent was alive. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The creature remained completely still. Its eyes were open, fixed on the entrance, watching, waiting. One member of the team later described the experience as more disturbing than any aggressive animal encounter. Predators normally react to intruders. They flee, attack, or reposition themselves. This serpent did none of those things. It simply observed. Biologists studying the footage noticed something unusual about its posture. The creature was not preparing to strike. It was not defending territory. Instead, its behavior closely resembled that of animals guarding a specific location. The conclusion was impossible to ignore. The serpent appeared to be protecting something. And when researchers examined the chamber more carefully, they realized the creature was positioned directly in front of another structure. A doorway, far larger than any entrance found elsewhere in the complex, made from a black stone unlike the surrounding walls, covered with symbols that had somehow survived thousands of years underground. The gold had led to the sarcophagus. The sarcophagus had led to the serpent. And now the serpent appeared to be standing guard over the true destination hidden beneath the Euphrates. Whatever waited beyond that doorway was important enough to inspire an underground fortress, a sealed sarcophagus, and a guardian unlike anything modern science could explain. The question was no longer what the expedition had discovered. It was what the ancient builders had been trying so desperately to keep protected. For nearly 2 days, nobody attempted to approach the doorway. The serpent remained exactly where it was, motionless, watching. Every movement inside the chamber seemed to be tracked by its eyes. Yet despite the constant activity around it, the creature never attacked. It never hissed. It never displayed any obvious aggression. It simply continued guarding the black stone entrance behind it. Then something unexpected happened. The serpent moved, not suddenly, not violently. It slowly lifted its head, turned toward the darkness beyond the doorway, and began retreating deeper into the tunnel system from which it had emerged. Within minutes, it disappeared completely. The chamber fell silent. For the first time, the doorway stood unprotected. The expedition team wasted no time. As cameras and lights were brought forward, researchers finally had an opportunity to examine the structure that had apparently been important enough to warrant a living guardian. The doorway was enormous, nearly twice the height of a man. Its surface was covered with symbols unlike the carvings found elsewhere in the complex. Many appeared intentionally damaged. Faces had been chipped away. Names had been erased. Entire sections had been scratched beyond recognition, almost as if someone had wanted the symbols to remain visible while ensuring they could never be fully understood. But 4 images survived. 4 symbols positioned around the center of the doorway. The first resembled a pair of broken wings. The second appeared to depict a star falling from the sky. The third showed a crown divided by a deep crack. And the fourth portrayed a chain wrapped around a circular seal. The discovery immediately attracted attention from historians, theologians, and researchers studying ancient Mesopotamian religions. Nobody could agree on their exact meaning. Yet one detail stood out. The symbols did not resemble emblems of kingship. They resembled warnings. As images of the doorway spread online, discussions quickly turned toward ancient traditions, describing powerful beings cast down from heaven and restrained until an appointed time. Some pointed to Mesopotamian myths. Others referenced the Book of Enoch. Many Christians focused on Revelation 9, which describes 4 angels bound at the great river Euphrates until the moment of their release. No evidence connected the doorway to those passages. Yet the location made the comparisons unavoidable. A hidden complex beneath the Euphrates, a sealed sarcophagus, a guardian serpent, and now 4 mysterious symbols surrounding what appeared to be another seal. Then the team discovered something even stranger. A narrow gap had formed between the stone doors, only a few inches wide, just enough for a camera to pass through. The first images transmitted from the other side showed no treasure, no statues, no inscriptions, only darkness, an enormous darkness. The camera's light failed to reach the far wall. The chamber beyond was far larger than anyone expected. And somewhere, deep inside that darkness, the microphone recorded a sound, a slow rhythmic pulse, not unlike breathing, as if something in the abyss beyond the doorway was still alive. The sound changed everything. At first, researchers assumed it was an equipment malfunction. The chamber beyond the doorway was enormous, and echoes can distort audio in unexpected ways. But after multiple recordings from different devices produced the same result, that explanation became difficult to defend. The pulse was real, slow, steady, repeating at regular intervals, almost like breathing. To investigate further, the team deployed a cable-mounted camera through the narrow opening. Meter by meter, it descended into the darkness beyond the black stone doors. The footage revealed something astonishing. The space on the other side was not another room. It was a cavern, a massive underground void hidden beneath the Euphrates. The camera continued downward for several minutes without reaching the bottom. Laser rangefinders struggled to determine the full depth. Every new measurement suggested the same conclusion. The cavern was far larger than the entire tomb complex above it. Then the camera's lights struck something below. Stone, not natural rock, a structure. At first, only fragments became visible through the darkness. A staircase, broken pillars, sections of walls emerging from the cavern floor. As the camera descended further, the outline of an entire complex slowly appeared. Whatever lay beneath the tomb had existed long before the tomb itself was built. The realization shocked archaeologists. The gold chamber, the sarcophagus, the guardian serpent. None of them appeared to be the original purpose of the site. Instead, they now seemed to be layers added later. as if successive generations had constructed barriers over something that already existed deep underground. Then came another discovery. Near the center of the ruins stood 4 massive stone pillars arranged in a square formation. Each pillar carried a different symbol. Time had damaged much of the carvings, but enough remained to identify familiar shapes. Broken wings, a falling star, a fractured crown, a chain surrounding a seal. The same symbols found on the black doorway above. The symbols were not guarding the cavern. They were pointing toward it. As images circulated among researchers, comparisons with ancient texts intensified. Some pointed to Mesopotamian legends describing divine beings imprisoned beneath the earth. Others returned to Revelation 9 and the mysterious reference to 4 angels bound near the Euphrates. No evidence proved such connections. Yet many observers found it difficult to ignore the pattern. 4 symbols, 4 pillars, a hidden chamber beneath the Euphrates, and layers of structures, seemingly designed to prevent access. Then the camera revealed one final detail. At the exact center of the 4 pillars stood a circular platform, empty, no statue, no treasure, nothing. Yet, unlike the surrounding ruins, the platform showed almost no signs of age or erosion. It looked untouched, as though something had once occupied that space, or perhaps still did, because moments later the breathing sound returned, this time louder than before. And according to the audio logs, it was no longer coming from the darkness below. It was coming from somewhere inside the cavern itself. The breathing sound returned only once. Then it stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. For nearly an hour, the expedition team reviewed the recordings, comparing audio captured from different devices positioned throughout the tomb complex. The results were unsettling. The sound had not originated from the camera. It had not originated from the doorway. And it had not come from the cavern floor. Every analysis pointed toward the same conclusion. The source was somewhere within the vast underground void itself. The discovery triggered an emergency survey of the cavern. Additional cameras were lowered. Thermal scanners were deployed. Ground-penetrating radar was redirected toward the newly discovered space below. That was when investigators noticed something they had missed before. The 4 pillars surrounding the circular platform were not simply decorative structures. They were damaged. Each pillar contained massive fractures running through its foundation. The cracks were old, but they had widened recently. High-resolution scans revealed fresh stone fragments scattered around their bases. Something had changed, and it appeared to have happened only recently, possibly after the earthquake. As engineers examined the damage, another anomaly emerged. The pillars were connected. Hidden beneath the platform, channels carved into the stone linked all 4 structures together. The design resembled part of a larger mechanism. Not a machine in the modern sense, but a system built around the platform at the center. The more researchers studied the arrangement, the less it resembled a temple, and the more it resembled a containment structure. Then came a discovery that pushed the story far beyond archaeology. Inscribed along the inner sides of the pillars were fragments of text written in multiple languages from different periods of Mesopotamian history. The wording varied, but the message remained remarkably consistent. One translation read, "Do not break the boundary." Another stated, "Let the seal remain until the appointed time." A third fragment was even shorter. 4 remain. Images of the inscription spread across the world within hours. Once again, attention turned toward ancient prophecies connected to the Euphrates. Discussions erupted across religious communities as people debated whether the warnings were symbolic, historical, or something else entirely. Archaeologists urged caution. The inscriptions could refer to kings, prisoners, rituals, any number of forgotten traditions, but nobody could explain why civilizations separated by centuries appeared to have preserved the same warning. Then the thermal scanners detected movement, not on the platform, not among the ruins, along the cavern wall. For only a few seconds, a heat signature appeared nearly 300 feet above the floor before vanishing into darkness. The shape was enormous. far larger than a human, far larger than the serpent discovered in the chamber above. Unfortunately, the image was incomplete. Only a portion of the figure appeared on the scan before it disappeared. Yet one detail was unmistakable. Something was there, something alive, something that had apparently been watching the excavation from the darkness while the team focused on the platform below. And for the first time since the discovery began, authorities ordered all exploration activities suspended, because whatever was hidden beneath the Euphrates was no longer being treated as an archaeological mystery. It was being treated as a potential threat. The suspension lasted less than 48 hours. Officially, the excavation had been paused for safety reasons. Unstable rock formations, unexplained heat signatures, and the sheer size of the underground cavern had created risks no one fully understood. Unofficially, the pressure to continue was overwhelming. The discovery beneath the Euphrates had already become one of the most discussed archaeological stories in the world. A hidden spring revealed by an earthquake, an underground chamber filled with gold, a sealed sarcophagus secured by a human face, a giant serpent guarding a black stone doorway, 4 mysterious symbols, ancient warnings, and now an immense cavern hidden beneath it all.
Rising from the exposed riverbed, and a frozen chamber hidden beneath the earth containing 4 massive golden coffins sealed in ancient ice. These shocking finds have fueled intense speculation, with some linking them to the 4 angels bound at the Euphrates in the Book of Revelation. Are these extraordinary discoveries merely unexplained remnants of the past, or could they point to something far more unsettling? Stay with us, because what was uncovered beneath the Euphrates has shocked people around the world and reignited one of the Bible's most mysterious prophecies. Recently, the shrinking waters of the Euphrates had exposed forgotten cities, ancient walls, and artifacts buried beneath layers of mud. But in the past couple of weeks, a Turkish field reporter named Kemal Arslan became convinced that something very different was emerging from the river. He traveled between excavation sites, filming discoveries that he believed were being overlooked. The deeper he dug into the story, the more convinced he became that something unusual was emerging from beneath the river. His final project was a documentary called The Cursed Structures, but he never got to release it. Hours after uploading the completed report to his newsroom, Kemal vanished. His equipment was still there. Kemal was not. No signs of a struggle, no witnesses, no explanation. As investigators searched through his archived files, they discovered something nobody at the station knew existed. A hidden backup folder, and inside were dozens of unreleased field recordings. At first, newsroom staff expected forgotten interviews or extra footage. Instead, they found something far stranger. Among all the files recovered from Kemal Arslan's hidden archive, one recording immediately attracted attention, not because of what it showed, but because of what it suggested. The video was filmed near a recently exposed section of the Euphrates River, where months of falling water levels had revealed structures that had remained hidden beneath the riverbed for centuries. The recording opens with survey crews examining a circular formation of black stone emerging from the mud. Moments later, several instruments begin malfunctioning. A scanning device is suddenly pulled from a technician's hands and dragged several feet across the ground. The force appears strong enough to overcome the man's grip. Literal? Future? Past? No one knows. Yet, what happened next made the discussion much harder to ignore. As workers widened the fracture at the center of the formation, they discovered that the crack was not natural. It led far downward, into a hidden cavity beneath the riverbed, a massive dark red structure partially buried in the mud. Its surface appeared covered in vein-like patterns, and according to one archaeologist heard in the recording, it looked disturbingly organic. And the mood changed immediately. The surface wasn't rock, it wasn't clay, and it definitely wasn't a fossil. The object appeared soft, flexible, and almost organic. As layers of dirt were carefully removed, more of the structure emerged. Long branching veins stretched across its surface. Thick folds wrapped around its outer edges. Its color ranged from deep red to dark brown, as though it had been preserved underground for an unimaginable length of time. Several workers stepped back in visible discomfort. One archaeologist stared at the exposed mass for several seconds before quietly saying something that would later be repeated across social media. "It looks like a placenta." The comparison sounded absurd, until more of the object became visible. The resemblance only became harder to ignore. By the end of the first day, the team had uncovered nearly 20 feet of the structure, and it wasn't alone. Some believed the formations were geological. Others insisted they had never seen anything remotely similar. What troubled many observers was not simply their appearance. It was their arrangement, as if they had been placed there for a purpose, or